afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this. My name's Teresa. I'm the owner of New Forest Sewing Studio in Langley, Southampton in Hampshire. We do a monthly make, and this month we do a sew along with it. So this month we're going to make the Atelier Jupe Frankie Trousers. So there, I'll try and show you the line drawing on there. So they're a relaxed fit casual trouser. There we go there. So I'm going to make it up in our 8-ounce organic cotton twill that we sell here. It's a Merchant & Mills fabric that we retail here. Got it in lots of colourways, but I'm just going to make it in a colourway we call our Effie Pink. So I thought it would be nice for the spring, hopefully, which will come soon. Look forward to that. It's cold here in the UK. So I've did do a toil. Basically my fit is pretty good out the packet, so that's fine. And I did size down on mine. Yeah, I did size down on mine, so I went with the garment measurement sizes to have a look, because they are made with quite a bit of ease on the waistband and the hip, so I didn't want too much ease there, so I've sized down for mine. So I went with the garment measurement sizes rather than my actual sizing, but it's entirely up to you. So the first thing we need to do, I've cut out all my pattern pieces, and I've marked in my notches, and I have interfaced the pieces I need to interface, which are the pieces of the waistband. You've got a front right waistband and a front left waistband and a back waistband, and also you need to interface the fly facing, which is this piece here. I've interfaced that piece too, and the waistband pieces, and I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. So I'm just marked in my, just put a couple of tailor's tacks, which is like pocket placement on here, and just where the fly zip bit goes on the front. So I'm going to angle the camera down now so that you'll be able to see. So, yeah. So I'm just going to put the, just putting some little tailor's tacks in, which just marks where the zip piece goes here. The tailor's tack in here, so just a little stitch through just to mark where that other piece of the zip's going to go. So let's put that there. Okay. So then on the instructions, it wants us to take a 2 centimetre piece off the shaped facing of the right front. So we need to undo that. The fly facing bit is already attached on this pattern. So right, let's just separate these two tacks. So just part them a bit and snip in between. So I usually do it like this, and I can figure out which is which. So I just lay them so that so this is my right front. Yeah, that's the right side of my fabric. Yep, so this is my right front. And it just wants us to trim off 2 centimetres along the shaped edge. I'll just mark that on there. 2 centimetres, 2 centimetres, 2 centimetres, 2 centimetres. Just check that down there. This is just a heat erasable pen. I'll show you that. I've got my hand over it. So I just measured 2 centimetres in from that edge. Okay, I'll show you clear on there. So I just measured 2 centimetres in, and then we're just going to trim that piece off. That's for your right front. You leave it intact for your left front. don't want that bit. Right, okay. So then we want to do the pockets next. So let's get our pieces right side up, and then we'll get our pocket lining piece. I think we want, don't we? Yes, we'll get our pocket lining piece. Let's get pincushion. Which is piece number 4. Okay, so I've just done mine out of some cotton fabric for the lining. It's just a bit lighter weight, and then we're just going to position those on there like so. And pin those in place. Same on the other one. Okay, so we're going to stitch those in place. Yeah, so it's 1.5 centimetre seam allowance around this pocket edge here. Just to trim the edges, finish with an overlocker. You're going to fold it over to the other way, so I wouldn't, depends if you think your fabric's really going to fray. So just trim the edges, and then we're going to turn it in the other way and then top stitch around. So I'll do that and then I'll show you what we've done. Okay, so we've stitched those in place. So we attached it, I just trimmed down the seam allowance, just clipped into the corner, just up to the seam allowance, just clipped the seam allowance so that it would fold over, and given it a press, and then just top stitched one to the edge of the pocket piece there, and then again about, I just did it the width of my foot, half of my foot, to follow along around to the second layer. So then next we want piece 5, which is the pocket opening, called the pocket opening. Pieces over there. So we just want, so turn your trouser legs over, so wrong sides face up, and then we want, got to think about this now, we want that one there, and that one there. So you want the right side of your pocket opening facing down, and that one like so, and then we're just going to pin the two, so your pocket opening piece just to your lining piece. I'll show you a bit better in a minute when I can lift it up. So I'm just going to pin those together here, there, and again around this bottom edge. Back to front of the camera. There we go. So just around like that. Shot a bit. So we're just going to pin that around like so. So it's just pinning the pocket bag to the lining. All right. So we're going to stitch around there. We're going to do that on both pockets, and then overlock around those edges to neaten them off, and then we're going to just baste stitch the pocket to the top there and along the side seam, but I'll show you that in a minute. We'll just stitch and overlock these edges first, and then I'll show you where we'll baste it at the side seams. Okay, so we've stitched down that side of the pocket and along there, okay? Just fold that out so you can see it a bit easier. Okay, so we've stitched down there, just the pocket and lining pieces together along there and down there. Now, you can just snip the ends of your overlocking threads here, because that's going to be stitched into the side seam and that bit will be stitched into the waistband. But here, this bit's not stitched into anything at the point of your pocket there. So it's a good idea just to thread these ends in. You can do that whenever you've got a outside edge of your overlocking. So I just use a large needle. You can use a knitting bodkin type needle or anything, and then thread it onto there, and then you can literally, I'll just do it on the wrong side here, so just thread all that through. I'll show you on camera as well as doing it. Just thread all that under the stitching like so. So just literally under those stitches, and then just pull that through. Just give it a little bit of wiggle, and then that will pull your threads through, and then just snip that extra end off, and then it just neatens in those edges of your overlocking stitches. Put that in there for a minute. Right, so then, so that's your pocket piece on there. So now we just need to, next step is just to baste stitch these, your pocket edge here to your side seam and to the waistband bit there. So the edge of your pocket should roughly line up with the notches on the side of your piece there. Okay, so I'll just get those lined up. Find my pins. Just make sure, the main thing is that it's just sat nice and flat. There. And then the top one, I've got a little notch in the top piece there, so the edge of your pocket piece just lines up with that notch. So again, we'll pin that in place. Random pins. Like that. Okay, so it's just pinned there, down the side seam and along the top there. Okay, so we're just going to base stitch. So within your seam allowance, which is 1.5 centimetres, so just about 1 centimetre in, I would just do a long basting stitch. So turn your machine stitch length up to the longest stitch you can do, and just baste along there and down there. Okay, so I do about 1 centimetre, as a seam allowance is 1.5 centimetres, so that's within it. Okay, so we'll do that on both pocket pieces, and then I think we're going to attach the yoke to the back piece of the trousers. So that's those basted in place, just along the tops there, just along the top there, and down the side seams. Now you will notice when your pocket sits on there that it doesn't sit quite flat onto the pocket backing piece, but that's quite normal, as you've naturally got a little bit of ease built in just to get your hand in the pocket, so that's quite normal. It sits fairly flat, but not exactly, because you will notice you've got a tiny little bit of ease in there, just so that you can get your hands in your pockets when you're wearing them. So that's built into the design in most pockets on trousers. So we'll put those to one side, and next we're going to put do the back trouser pieces. So I has got any notches on the between the yoke and the trouser top, so I found it useful, certainly from doing my toil, to put a notch in, just to align them, to get that alignment right on the trousers. So I marked a notch in on mine just to help with that alignment. Otherwise, once you've got your pattern piece, it's just like, okay, does it get big? So it can get confusing. So let's take those pattern pieces off now. Those over there, one over there. Just snip my tailor's tacks. Those two there. So I tend to lay them out so that you've got the crotch seam on the inside, so it's as you would be wearing them, if you like. Okay, so then that one lines up like that, and then that one lines up like that, like so. Stitch those in place. And then we're going to press the seam allowance down towards the back of the trousers like so, and then top stitch along there. Okay, so I'm going to stitch that seam allowance along there, overlock it, and then we're going to press that seam down towards the back and then top stitch it along. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then we've got the pockets to put on. Okay, so we've trouser backs. So we've stitched the yoke seam onto the trouser there, overlocked it, pressed it down towards the back of the trousers, and then just top stitched the two layers along there. Okay, so we've done that with both sides, both back pieces, and next we're going to do the pockets. So I like to put a design on my pocket, so I've stitched that one there. If you can see that, okay, so I've stitched that one there. So all I did was trace over it with some tracing paper, with some carbon paper, which I'll show you how to do. So because it's an asymmetrical design, I had it that way on that piece. Because it's asymmetrical, then I'm just going to flip it over and have it the opposite side, the opposite way on that piece. So I'm just going to line it up roughly to get it straight. So roughly about there. Just going to put a pin in the bottom there, just to hold it still. I'll put one about there, just to hold that still. And then you just get your carbon paper, and with the carbon side, this is white, so just show on my phone, but you can get it in different colours. So you can get it in different colours. So this is a yellow piece. So this is your carbon side, and this is your plain side. Okay, so we want the carbon side down towards the fabric. I just wanted to choose something that wasn't going to show up massively, but give me enough so that I can see where I'm stitching. So I'm just going to slot that in under there, and then with a tracing wheel, which is one of these, I'm just going to go over the edges there. So just with your wheel, just go over there. I've done this piece several times, so it's looking a bit sorry for itself. You can get you can just draw your own design, whatever you want to put on there, or you can I got these off the Closet Core website. So if you just sign up to there, then you can access, there's a whole I think there's about 20 or more of them, different designs and things you can do. So it's just interesting to put something different on your pockets, or I think it is, makes them a bit more individual. Try to keep it still. Oops. There you go. Okay, so then we'll I'll take that off. That one over there like that. And then it just leaves, I mean this is white so it is quite pale, but I don't know if you can just see that. I can just see enough to do my stitching on that pocket piece. So I'll stitch that one in a minute. So this is the one I've stitched. So next we need to fold it down the edges of the pocket there. So also the you need to finish the edges of the pocket. So I just overlocked mine, but you can zigzag them whichever way you want to do it really. Just these two, not necessarily the top one, but just all these outer edges of your pocket there. So then it wants us to fold over 2.5 centimetres. So roughly there, like so. Obviously press that with the iron, and then it wants you to fold that under again, like so. Okay, so then it'll be like that. Okay, and then it want you to top stitch there. So again, one row of top stitching along the top edge, and then another row just down from that. So I'll do that on both of those pocket pieces, and then we'll come back and position them. Okay, so I've sewn the pockets detail on, and then I've folded down that 2.5 centimetres and then folded it up again and top stitched along the top there. Okay, that's like that on the back. And then it just needs you to fold in all your edges, down your pocket edges, 1.5 centimetres all the way around, like so. Now probably a good idea just to make sure that they stay. I tend to use a clapper that just, well, so once you've pressed it with the iron, if you just apply a clapper over the top just while it cools down, and then it will give you a nice crisper edge, just to help sort of align your pockets. So then you've got tailor's tacks on your pocket backs. Now I had marked mine wrong on my piece and I traced it out. I'll show you why. So on the pattern piece here, it's an overlay pattern that you'll need to trace for Atelier Jupe. They're quite clear, but the back piece is here. So this piece here is the top of the back piece. Okay, like so. Bring it a bit nearer so you can see it. So this is the top of the back piece of the trousers. Now here it's labelled 34 as the smallest size, and I'm doing the 36 because, as I say, there's a lot of ease, so I've gone with garment measurement sizes. So that would lead me to think it was this one here, which is what I've marked, but actually that wouldn't be right for the placement of the pocket. So it's actually the 34 is down here and the 36 I wanted is here. So I've remarked that on my pattern piece and on my tailor's tack on my trousers. Okay, so then all you do is line the top corners of your pocket up with those tailor's tacks you've got there. See if I can move that over a bit so you can see a bit easier. Okay, so I'm going to put my two tailor's tacks there, marking those points on the pocket. I'm just going to line those up with there. Pin that one in place. That one as well. This is where it's quite good if your edges are quite nice and crisp. Mine have just unfolded slightly, but that's my fabric. So then just pin it around so that it's just sat nice and flat. Oh, I was going to put a label in on mine, so I might go and grab a label actually, just to do that as well. Right, so that's there. So then it's worth just checking to see that those are positioned the same on each side. It will show, as I say, if you've got one really different to the other. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so I'm going to top stitch around these now. I'm just going to get a little label just to tuck out the edge of one of my pockets. So I'll just grab that quickly and I'll show you. Okay, so I just got one of these we sell them here. These are the Kylie and the Machine labels, so they're quite nice. And it just says you can't buy this. Some glittery writing. So I've just slotted that just literally under the edge there like that, and then I'll stitch that in place. So I've just put it under the edge there just so that it gives a little bit of difference. So I'm going to go and stitch those. I thought that one, but not that one. I'm going to go and top stitch around those, and then I think we'll need to do the fly facing next. Okay, so that's the pockets sewn on. Okay, stitched around, so just stitch all the way around, back stitched at the top here, and then stitch all the way around again, back stitching at the top, just within the top stitching lines there. Okay, and I just tucked my little label in the side there. Okay, so that's both of those done, so put those to one side at the moment. Next it wants us to do the back to the front of the trousers. So having done the pockets earlier, it just wants us to work on the fly piece and join these two pieces together. So it wants you to neaten around the edge of the fly piece on both pieces, so that piece, the right and also the left. So just to either zigzag stitch or overlock stitch. I've overlocked round there. Okay, the easiest way to overlock round when you're going around a corner like that is to try and stretch it straight like that, and then you can generally get round. Then it wants us to put these two pieces together. So to stitch the crotch seam here, so we're going to piece those two together there. Let's get a couple of pins. I think it's time for a cup of coffee. And those two notches will join up, so that one there with that one there. Tailor's tacks rather, not notches, so that will show you when I've pinned it. There we go. So that's just pinned like so. Alright, so just keeping those two crotch seam pieces together, and just to where you put your tailor's tack in, where marked on your pattern, you're going to sew to. So you're just going to sew up to that where I've marked it there, up to that line there. So from the end of your inside leg crotch seam up to that tailor's tack there. Okay, make sure you back stitch there as well, at the beginning, but particularly there as well, just because that needs to be well reinforced. So I'm going to stitch that, and then I think we need to press the seam open, and then we're going to sew the put the fly in place. So we've stitched the crotch seam there, just from the end up to where our tailor's tack is. Okay, and then it wants you to lay it down, so then you'll end up with your right side facing you, facing up. Let's get a bit more so you can see it. Put that out of the way. So this is a good time now if you want to grab a cup of tea or coffee, whichever is your preference. Sometimes people struggle with this bit with the fly zip, but it's perfectly doable, so hopefully I can explain that clearly for you. So you want the right side of the trouser uppermost facing you, and then the left side just fold down out of the way, okay, just down here. And then when you get your zip, that you've got, jean zip, metal zip, trouser zip, and we want to get the right side of your zip, so that's the side with the tab, with the zipper tab on, down towards onto the right side of your trouser leg. Now it wants you to align your tape about 5mm, half a centimetre in from the edge, which is about at the edge of my overlocking stitch, so I'm going to use that as a guide. And then you also want to have the start of the zipper teeth here 1.5 centimetres down from the top. So just measure 1.5 centimetres down, and I've just drawn a line across with a heat erasable pen just across there, so I can see where I'm going to line the top of my zip up with. I find it easier just to undo it a bit to line that up. So it wants you to get the top of the notch, so the last tooth stopper bit, lined up with the top there, so that's roughly there, and at the edge of my overlocking stitch. So it's about there. Pin that in place, and then we're just going to pin that all the way down there. So keeping it to the edge of my overlocking stitch, so that's 5mm in. And that one. I'm just going to move this up and then pin the last one. And it wants us to sew down as far as that tack, level with that tack that we had, so that's to about there, so that's to about where I've got the edge of that pin there. Okay, so it says, I mean, you can baste it in place if you prefer that, but I'm happy to go ahead with the pins. So using your zipper foot, we're now going to stitch down there along the side of the zip, okay, to secure that in place. So you can, I would pull your zip down a bit to start with, and then if you can, lift your zipper foot, lift your foot, and then tuck that on underneath and then carry on. If you're finding it too difficult to do that, just stop, take your fabric out, do your zip back up, then put it back under your machine and just start a bit back further from where you finished. So 1.5 centimetres back, say, from where you've just finished stitching. Start stitching there again and then stitch to the end. Okay, so I'm going to go and stitch that in place, and then next we're going to fold that over like that. Okay, so we've stitched down there, so it wants you to stitch roughly in the centre of your zipper tape. Okay, stitching down there to that piece, roughly in the centre of your zipper tape, and then you fold it over to that side. And then that should, so ideally you should have, you should be about 1 centimetre, the fold of your fabric against the zip edge there should be 1 centimetre from your centre front seam, which is marked by a notch at the top and also by that little tailor's tack there at the bottom. So your fold should be about 1 centimetre in from there, okay? Right, that's better. I must have needed coffee. Right, okay. So this, the easiest way to do it is this fly facing on your left front. Okay, here that's attached. It's best if it's got a little marking, a little snip at the top that you'll have marked in from your pattern piece. If you fold that over so that that makes your centre front piece of your trousers, okay, like so. So that will make your centre front like that. And that notch with that centre front line there needs to line up with a little notch at the top of your right side of your piece, so which will be there Okay, so I'm going to pin that in place there so that I know that that lines up properly at the front there. And then turn it over. Okay, and then it wants you to pin your zipper tape to your fly facing again, and then stitch it about halfway along the zipper tape there with your zipper foot. Okay, so it also says that that edge of that tape should be about 1.2 centimeters from the edge of this fly facing. So looking at it there, that's about right on mine, so that's good. So I'm going to put a pin, I'll do it the wrong way round. That way. I'm going to have to turn it round. Make sure it's still in view there. Okay, so it wants me to pin that in place along there. And you're only pinning it and stitching it to your actual fly facing, not right through the trouser. Okay, so through there. So I'm going to take that one out. That up a bit better. Okay, so it wants us to stitch that in place just to the fly facing piece. Okay, not to the trouser, just to the fly facing piece. Okay, so roughly down the centre of the zipper tape as we've done on that side. Alright, so I'm going to go and do that and then we'll be back for the next piece. We've stitched that all in place. Okay, so we've stitched that to the left side, down, as I say, down roughly down the centre of your zipper tape. So that lines up. Pin in the top there just to keep that sat properly. Okay, so that's so far. Okay, then it wants you to get your fly facing, which is piece number 7, and fold it just which you've interfaced. And it just wants you to overlock, or you could zigzag stitch, whichever is preference, along that short opened edge and along up there. So along the angled edge at the bottom and up that side piece there. And then we're going to fix that to the right side of the fly. Okay, so I'll go and stitch that first. Okay, so this is my fly piece, which I folded in half, overlocked down the end and overlocked at the bottom. Because this bottom pieces aren't put into any seams, I did thread all my stitches through there like we've done previously, so that they don't unravel. So then we're going to take the fly piece here, and against the right side, so the right piece of your trouser, where you've got your zip here stitched in place, we're going to attach the fly facing to there. So that's the right side of your trouser with your zip in, okay, with that side in. And then we're just going to pin that in place along there. And then we're going to stitch roughly over where you've stitched before, just to secure this in place. Just stitch that down to there. Okay. So using your zipper foot again, we're just going to stitch down there to stitch this to the tape, so that then when we fold it out like that, then this is the zipper guard, the fly shield zipper guard that we're going to put there. Okay, so it's just with your zip in the middle, sandwich between, that you've already sewn on. You're just going to put that over the top and then stitch down there, roughly in line with your previous stitching. So you could, if it's easier, if you're doing it from this side, then you could just measure roughly where that is, So I'm about a centimetre in, just over a centimetre, yeah, about a centimetre in. So I'm just going to stitch along there, or you can pin it the other way up if you find it easier. You could pin it that way. So pin it that way up. Like so, and then that way you can just follow along your previous line of stitching to secure that in place. Okay, so we'll do that, and then we onto the top stitching around the fly. So that's stitched in place now down there. Okay, so we've stitched that fly guard in there, and then folded it over and pressed that there. So then if we line up our top there, just to make sure that your it's all sat flat and your centre front seam is where it should be. Okay, following up there, so the notch on there should line up with the notch on your trouser top there, like so. Okay, so I've just pinned that bit over there so that it's staying in place where I want it to be. And the next thing it wants you to do is to stitch the top stitch around this fly bit around here, and do two stitching lines round. So it says roughly the shape of your, and just stitch around, so it doesn't give you a, sometimes you get a piece to draw around in a heat erasable pen or things like that, but they don't always. So the easiest way to do it is to turn it over, or I find the easiest way to do it, so you've got a guide to follow, because you want to make sure you're catching in this underneath zip guard under here, so make sure that's all sat flat first. Oh, really bent that one. Okay, and then get some tacking thread. Just do it in that way, I can't do it upside down. It's funny when you're trying to show it on video and do it the wrong way round to what you would normally do it. Right, so there we go. So we want to stitch roughly to the edge of here, so I'm just going to do some tacking stitches along here. So just secure a stitch there. Just fairly big stitches. It will just give you a guide to follow, because here you can see, here on this side obviously you can see the edge of your fly shield, but on the other side you can't see the edge. So if you've tacked it, then you'll be able to see where you're, give you a guide of where to stitch. I've seen it done this way on other patterns for the top stitching, so it's quite a good idea if you haven't got a shape to follow or a template to use or anything. So just stitch around there, so just some really big stitches, just catching that in place. Just round to the bottom of my zip. Pin across the bottom of the zip there to mark where the end of my zip is. And that way you can ensure that you miss catching the end of your zip. You can break any needles or anything like that, so that's helpful. so I've tacked it from the wrong side there. Okay, so I've tacked it round from the wrong side there, and then when you turn it over to the right side, you can now see where you're gonna, roughly where you're gonna need to stitch round. Okay, at the moment that looks a little bit wonky, so what I'm gonna do is measure over and see roughly where we are. So that's about 4 centimetres there. I want to keep it fairly straight, otherwise it's going to look odd. So 4 centimetres, 4 centimetres, 4 centimetres, 4 centimetres. I'm going to draw in a line. Up there somewhere. Oh no. And then I can carry on around that. Okay, so that's roughly where I'm going to stitch. So I've just, it's just a heat erasable pen, so I can iron that off in a moment. So I'm going to stitch around there where I've drawn. So I basted it on, but initially looking at my basting, you can see it's wider at the top than it is at the bottom. So ideally you want this top stitching to be straight. So I've just measured, there was my nearest point in to catch the back there, the fly facing. So then I've just measured up to get that straight all the way around. So once you stitch two rows of stitches, so I'm going to stitch round once, and then I'm going to come slightly inside that and stitch around again. But I'm going to have to be careful at the bottom bit here that I don't catch that bottom of my zip. Okay, so I'll stitch that in place next, and then it wants us to just hand stitch the fly facing to the inside at the front, I think. So yeah, which is just this piece here. Okay, so we'll just hand tack that in place in a minute. So I'll just top stitch this first. Okay, so we've sewn the crotch seam in place there. Okay, so I've top stitched that round, I've back stitched at the bottom there just to reinforce the zip. And then on the inside, it just wants you to hand tack, hand stitch this, some threads there, hand stitch this in place, just to secure the end there. Just to hand stitch that in place there, just to secure the end of this fly shield. Okay, so that's that. Now then it says to stitch the fronts to the backs at the side seams, and then put one inside the other to form the crotch seam, which, you know, I've done on many trousers, but not when your front crotch seam's already sewn together. So I'm going to do it slightly differently, like I would do with a pair of jeans if the front seam is sewn together. So I'm going to sew the back crotch seam first, lining up these bits here. So make sure your yoke piece seam lines up well at the back there. That's like that. And also this way can help just with a bit of fitting, so if you've done the side seams last. So I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so I'm going to stitch that side seam there. And then I'm going to press it, and then we're going to join the front to the back at the inside seam, and then join them together at the side seams. Okay, so I'll go and sew this seam at the back first. This mess out the way. Right. Okay, so we've stitched the centre back seam. Okay, so I've stitched that centre back seam, press the seam open, just making sure you get your seams lined up there at the back there best you can, because that does show. So then I'm going to just join the inside leg seams, which is here. So I'm going to fold that one to that way, that one's open, and join it there. And then got a notch there to join there. So we're going to sew these seams and then neaten the edges together. As it says in the instructions. So we'll go with that. I'm a bit naughty sometimes, diverging from the instructions, but this is definitely an easier way, and certainly an easier way to check the fit. If you do the inside seams first, and then you can baste, if you want to, you can just baste stitch the outside leg seams, and then you can try them on and just check them for fit. So it's much easier to do it this way. So you just join the two together all around the inside leg seam. Those notches line up there. Lines up. So probably what I'll do is we'll stitch this inside seam, then overlock it, and at the same time I'll probably do the outside seams. But as I say, if you want to check the fit on your on yours, I'm fairly okay with these, but I will check, even though I did a toil, I'll still check the fit before I certainly before I overlock them. So we'll pin these outside seams as well, down to the end. Step on the zip. But I won't, so I'll stitch these. I probably will use a normal stitch. I did do a toil for them, so I'm fairly sure on the fit, but I won't overlock them until I'm absolutely sure. I may base stitch them anyway, because the calico is a different fabric, so often the fit will be different in a different fabric. So I'll just pin this other outside leg seam, so just aligning it at the top. There. And notches there. The lower notch there joins up with that one. Like so, and then you've got another notch down here, so join that one up there. So I'm going to stitch those and then try them on before I overlock them, basically, I think, just to check on the fit. Just if you need to unpick, particularly overlockings, I mean, you can, you know, you can unpick it, but it's just a bit more time consuming, isn't it? So okay, so I'm going to pin, that's all pinned in place. Try and show you that. Okay, so I pinned the inside leg seam all the way around, lining up the crotch and the notches along the way, and then the outside leg seams. Okay, so I'm going to stitch the inside leg seam on a normal stitch. I may base the outside leg seams first, just to try for fit, and then when I'm happy with it, I'll stitch the outside leg seams properly overlock them all, and then we'll show you what we've done then. Then it's the waistband to fit on next. Okay. Right. Okay, so I've sewed up the inside legs and the outside legs, and I've overlocked them, and the outside leg here I've decided to just top stitch like I would on a pair of jeans, just because it gives a bit more support to that seam there and the pocket. So I've just top stitched, pressed the seam towards the back, and then I've just top stitched from the top near where the waistband is, just down to about 1 centimetre past the pocket opening. So yeah, and then just back stitched a few times there just to secure that in place. So that's just like that you'll see sometimes done on a pair of jeans and things, but I just felt I had some top stitching elsewhere here, so it would just give some extra support to the pocket opening there. So I've done that on both sides. So next it's just the waistband pieces to put together. So where are we? The yoke piece, let's move that out of the way. Okay, so you've got your back waistband pieces. Oh, here here's the other one. Back waistband pieces, and then your front waistband pieces. So you've got a right and a left. Now this is the right and this is the left. So to make it easier, I decided to mark the centre front of the waistband pieces with a pin, because otherwise it's quite difficult. Once you get your pattern piece off, it can be quite difficult. That is slightly more angled at the side seam, but it's not that easy to tell. So I pinned those at the centre front on those, and also the centre front on those the same. Get that the right way. Okay, so now we just need to put them together. So that is my right, that's my left, and that's the back. So that's my left, so I'm going to put that one over like that, and that one's going to go over like that. And I'm going to check that once I've pinned it. Quite easy to get them on the wrong way round. So it's worth putting a pin in the centre front just to see, just to help you remember where that is. So that's there. So I'm just going to have a think about that now. So this is my right and this is my left. So that's right and left. So that's right, yeah. So I'm going to go and sew those two seams. And then it wants to pin both waistbands right sides together. Okay, and then attach it. Okay, so we've got to do both of those. So let me just do those as well. That one. So I'm going to sew those together, and then we have to attach the waistbands together. Okay, so you should have one up the right way, one up the wrong way to make the tear, so that when they go together, they're like that. Okay, so I'm going to go and sew those, and then I'll come back and show you how we're going to put them together. I've done both of those, so we've stitched those together. So that's the right side, and this is the inside piece. Okay, so this is the inner waistband, and with the inner waistband it wants you to turn up 1.5 centimetres along the lower edge, which is a slightly longer, wider edge. Okay, so then we need to stitch the two waistbands together. So I've got to think now which side, that side, that side, that side, that side. So we need to join it at the side seam there. So that's the edge you haven't pressed up. So the top of the waistband is the sort of what I'd call the inner curve, the convex curve. So that's all around this one here. Just put a few pins to keep it still. Out now, we know they're the centre front. Keep that one in. And I'm just pinning on this side as well. So I'm going to stitch, wants us to stitch all the way along the sides here. I'll just put a pin in there and I can show you. On that end. Oops. So it wants us, that's all pinned in place along the top there. So it wants us to stitch up this end along there, then pivot, and then all the way along the top, which is the, if you can see, that is the inner curve of the waistband. If we look at it like a smiley face, it's the top part of that, and it wants to stitch along and then also down that other end. So I'm going to do that, and then we need to attach it to the waistband, and then we must have some belt loops to do. Okay, so we've sewn the waistband together. Okay, so and then I've trimmed, graded the and snipped into the seam along the top curve, taken some of the bulk off the seams here, trimmed the corners so that we can turn them out, and then pressed everything so that it sits over with this edge folded up like so. Okay, and then the corners should be like that. Okay, so next we need to fix this to the waistband of the trousers. So right sides together, I marked the centre, just found the centre of the back piece there, so put a tiny little snip in there so that I know that's the centre there. And then that one goes on there. So this is the piece without the piece ironed and folded up. We're pinning on now. Your side seam lines up with your side seam on your trousers. There. Just pin those bits in between. It's a nice curved waistband on this, so sometimes it can really help with the fit on the waistband. And then so the end of your waistband will fit adjacent to your fly. Take that pin out. Put one there. And then we'll just fit those edges. Let's see what I'm doing there. And then just pin in between there. So we're just aligning those top edges around the waistband, just to pin that on. Moving. And then around this side, around the right side, again you've got the waistband there, at the side seam there. And that one there. And there, and then around to the right piece there. Show you once I've got it all pinned. So that one lines up with the front, and I will piece that in. Keep picking up that bent pin. I need to get rid of it. There we go. So I'm going to stitch all that in place around there. So that's all pinned in place around there. Okay, and around the front. So the fronts line up like that. Okay, so we're going to stitch that in place. That's a 1.5 centimetre seam, and then we're going to turn this over to the inside with that folded edge and then stitch that in place then. But we'll stitch this on first and then I'll show you what we're doing. Okay, so that's the that's all stitched on around there, on the waistband around there. Okay, I tend not to trim that down too much because I want to, because it's joining the waistband really, so I think it gives a nice firm seam there. You can trim it down if your fabric's a bit bulky, but I'm quite happy with this one here. So then we need to pin, and then I usually base this in place as well, so I'll show you what I do. So you just want to pin this down, so you want your folded edge, you want the folded edge to cover over the edge, just to cover, slightly cover your stitch line here, your stitch line there, okay, that you've just stitched your waistband on with. You want your folded edge of your waistband just to slightly cover that. Got half a dozen pins now, and then just pin that in place there. Okay, so when you're going around, just make sure that your side seam matches up with the side seam, the side seam on your waistband matches up with the side seam on your trousers. Okay, so pin that the same all the way round, and then I tend to just baste it in place. So just a single layer of tacking thread's fine. So just make sure you get this corner in nicely first. So I just put the thread into the ditch, the seam on the other side, and then catch this seam on this side. I'll show you a bit better in a minute when I've got this attached. There we go, right. Okay, so I catch an edge of this folded waistband seam in there like that, and just make sure that is in the ditch of the seam that side. So into the ditch of the seam there, and just make sure I'm catching just the very edge of the waistband there. Okay, so I'm going to do that all the way around. Once you get going with it, it doesn't take long. Oops, she says she can find the ditch of the seam. There we go, in there, and then the edge of your waistband there. So I'm going to do that all the way around, and then I can take the pins out. But it then helps when you top stitch, if you top stitch then around onto which it wants you to do, around on this part of the waistband, just slightly in from that seam, you know you're definitely going to catch this bit underneath rather than there being any gaps where you haven't quite caught it in. And I just think it makes for a nice neater finish, because we need to top stitch all the way around there. Okay, so I'm going to tack that all in place, and then I'll top stitch round, and then it's the belt loops and the hem, and we're done. Okay. Okay, so that's stitched round the waistband. Okay, and as I say, if you catch it in, then you do catch your waistband in the other side quite evenly all the way around. I usually start, because it's got belt loops on the waistband, which we're going to do next. There's usually a belt loop, and there is a belt loop at the centre back seam. So if you start your stitching, you need to stitch all the way around. If you start and end it there, then that's going to be covered up with the belt loop, so that's a good option. Then it does tell you to put your belt loops on and then do your buttonhole, but I find sometimes that can be difficult if you're going to have a belt loop about here, and so it can get caught in the your buttonhole if it's a automated buttonhole foot, so then it can get caught. So I prefer to do the buttonhole first. So I've just stitched that. I put some fray stop on that's just drying, and then we'll cut the buttonhole open a bit later and do the put the button on. So next is to do the belt loops. You just got your strip here, so it's piece number 11, and it's just a strip like so. Okay, and then you just need to overlock one long edge and then fold the non-neatened edge in first, and then fold the overlocked edge over the top, so that it's like that, and then we're going to top stitch down both sides of there. Okay, so I'll go and do that first, and then we need to cut it into the pieces and fix it to our trousers at the appropriate points, and then it's doing the hem. So I'll go and sew this first. So that's the belt loop stitched. Okay, so I decided to do 3 rows of stitching down mine, and it's slightly off centre, the middle one there, but that's fine. So yeah, I just decided, I thought 3 rows of stitching make quite a nice little belt loop, something a bit decorative. So then it wants you to put it into 5 7cm pieces, which I've marked out on there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Then it wants you to press under 1 centimetre each end, and then attach them to here. So I'm going to measure the centimetre at the top. About 1 centimetre. Like that. And then one's going to go one side of your, just to the inside of your pocket. I think I might get some clips to hold these on. I'll try with a pin. Okay, like so, and then the other end is going to attach round and under there, like so. Okay, so we're going to fold the top over and fix it on there, and then fold the bottom up and fix it on there. So we're going to put them either side of your pocket piece there, just to the inside of your pocket piece, one on the back by the back seam, and then one, I think it's 4 centimetres to the 4 centimetres from the back seam, from the back side seam. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then okay, so I'm going to put those on, then I'll show you what we've done, and then we'll probably be able to do the button and then do the hems. Okay, take them Okay, so where did we get to? So we've sewed the belt loops on. Okay, so they're all attached there, there on the back seam, and just 4 centimetres in from the side seams there. And we've also, buttons running off, just sewn the hems. So you just need to press up 1 centimetre and then another 2 centimetres, and then just top stitch around at the bottom. And then all we've got left to do is put the button on and open up the buttonhole. So as I say, I'll stitch my buttonhole before I do the belt loops. Otherwise you can see there where the belt loop is, that if you do your buttonholes afterwards, chances are your buttonhole foot's going to get caught on that one, and then it will stop and then it won't stitch. So yeah, so it's better to do it that way. So I'm going to use a little chisel. I've used some fray stop just first of all to put on, which is dried now, and then I'm just going to use a little chisel which you just put in the centre and press down. Along a wee bit more. That's it. Press down, and then I did a buttonhole where I've got the loop, where I've got the eyelet bit at the one end for my buttonhole, because it's a shank buttonhole. So I'm just going to open that up with the pliers here. I probably want a slightly bigger hole than that. It's probably too big. Too big. Bit too big. It's a bit too big. Right round to there, I think. Yeah, that's about right. Just clip in there. Gone through. Yeah, I'm just going to close the threads off at the back. Just do that again. I don't think it's quite gone through. There's quite a few layers. Didn't grip it enough, I don't think. That's better. That's it. There we go. So then you get a little hole opening like that. Okay. And just got that bit caught. There you go. So then that's open like that. So that's those done. So next we just need to mark where we want the buttonhole to be. So just do the zip up. Align that so it's straight. You can use an awl to do this. I prefer to just do it with a pen marker, and then you can check that it's fairly central before you've made a hole. Oops. Yeah, so that's halfway, so that's right. So there's the button there. I should have brought the awl down, but I didn't. I'm going to use this. A small hole in there, and then the barrier pliers. So you've got a little on your button, jeans buttons, you'll have a little sort of like little funny nail thing on one side, and then your button sits in this part on the other side. So you get these attachments in with your buttons, prim buttons I use usually. This is a prim button. So then we just need to push that through there. Okay, quite got it through there. I'll have to go and get the awl if I haven't got it quite is what I was talking about, an awl. So just push it through there to make a bit of a hole, just enough to get your sort of the nail part of your button piece through. So just like that, okay. Poking through, and then just align your button with that, and then just give it a squeeze. Good squeeze. And then that's your jeans button on. Okay, so we'll do those up. There we go, and that's our jeans. That's our jeans, our Frankie trousers, rather, a bit like jeans. Finished. Okay, so they're all finished now. With my pockets and my little tab on the side, belt loops on, hems are done. So I'm going to give those a press in the morning, and I'll try and get some photos with them on. Okay, and then I can upload the video for you. So I hope that helps with some sewing. And helps you to sort of someone to make the Frankie trousers. Yeah, so they're a nice make. Didn't need sort of a great deal of adjustment to them really. So yeah, you can do the top stitching down the centre here if you wanted to, but I decided not to. But yeah, so I'll post a picture tomorrow with them on. All right, see you then. Bye. So this is our sew along for January 2024 for the Atelier Jupe Frankie trousers. So they're a relaxed fit trouser. I did it in our 8-ounce organic weight cotton in our colourway Effie Pink, but we have lots of options on colours. So they're a nice fit, zip fly.